Okay, this week's article was from House on Mango Street, and the article was connecting with Latino children because it relates a lot back to the book. Um, to start off, the first thing the article talked about was how it's seen that teachers change kids' names. Supposedly, that's happened a lot in schools. They gave the example that they already had two Marias and that they should change the name. I was a little shocked by that because as a like being a teacher, I would never want to take someone's name away because that's taking their identity. And why would you try to change the kid's name without their permission? Usually, you can ask them what they want to be called, but you don't pick that. Another problem they said was since a lot of teachers are white and the classrooms are very cultural, they wanted to find a study that they could test out, try to force teachers into different areas and find ways to help get reach those children and make sure they're included in the literature they're learning in class. So 2 points that I really liked was how you really want to try to get personal with the kids, and it was talking about how the teachers that are the most successful know a lot about their children's lives and they know about what kind of background they are, what about their family. They know everything about them, so they'll be able to teach to them. I thought they thought it said it was really important to learn their cultural and traditions, and I think that's really important. I would do different things like having doing things about their family and putting pictures on it and showing all different things about their culture, and maybe find out what traditions they celebrate, and we can all celebrate them in class to get everyone to like introduce all other children to what other children learn too, because sometimes they won't get those kind of experiences and they're pretty interesting. And so I would create certain projects with that idea. So one problem in the study, because they were finding a bunch of books that they could use in different cultural classrooms in different areas, was the books weren't very authentic. They wanted to make sure they truly connected with the students and really reached out to them. Another problem was that there was a lack of books on the Latino culture. That was really hard because the info got too general or it would be written by outsider perspectives and it wouldn't get to those children, and the books aren't good enough if they do that. One thing to look about is what is appropriate to teach to your classroom. I thought that was a good point that the article made because you want to make sure you know all about your students. And for example, the Latino culture, like what they did, they wanted to make sure if you should teach about immigrants because their parents might be illegal immigrants. Like you want to make sure what is okay and what is not okay to talk about based on your classroom. One other important point I thought was cool was that they made sure to say that read alouds. A lot of teachers made like read books out loud to their classroom, but sometimes that's not good enough. They wanted you to go more in depth and do different activities, go deeper instead of just reading a book out loud and explaining things and like doing activities and getting don't be too general. Um, Another good point I thought they talked about was the use of folk tales because that teaches about culture and traditions, and I didn't think about using those kind of books in classrooms. They also made the connection of folk tales versus contemporary lit because those books are also important because it teaches more about different people's lives in those communities, like the Latino community, rather than just teaching about general like cultures and about the community. It has more stories like what we always see in books. Just like House on Mango Street, that was more of a story, not just teaching you about the culture. Um, One important point also was that you want high quality books. You want to make sure these books are actually like reaching out to your students, teaching them more about the culture than just this is what they do. Maybe different stories, different insider perspectives. You have to get a whole different view. You can't just have one person's story represent the whole group. I thought this article about the study they did, um, finding out when teachers read these books to the classrooms, they really didn't know much about the books, and it was interesting to see that after learning about it and learning what kinds of book they used it in the classrooms, and it really helped. So I think it's important that researching on the different cultures and about your students is important in the classroom. This related a lot back to Mango Street because she was in a Latino community and she had hardships and hard lives, and I feel like if she went to school she would want to feel like she was represented because I know in the school in the book they were like nuns and stuff, and she wasn't very represented, and I feel like she even got sent home for lunch. Those are kind of things like, I don't know, you need to make sure everyone's accepted in your classroom and you teach to everyone, and just because a lot of teachers are white doesn't mean you shouldn't teach about all the different cultures in your classroom.